Hello, good evening, Kenyan time. For those watching from across the oceans and all, whatever time zone you find yourself in, thank you for joining in today. Today is an interesting show. We talk about sales in 2020, and we've got industry leaders who will walk us through this topic. I think it's very interesting because in the words of Zig Ziglar, who is an American author, salesman and motivational speaker, he says, and I quote, "I've always said that everyone is in sales. Maybe you don't hold the title of a salesperson, but if the business you're in requires you to deal with people, you, my friend, are in sales." So I think all of us, in one way or the other, are sales people. I'm sure even proposing to your wife-to-be is part of your sales pitch. Anyway, remember our show streams live and addresses various topics in a light and fun way as we engage in discussions with our guests who are Kenyan entrepreneurs, industry leaders, innovators, and we want to hear the story. Today we have, starting with the ladies first, we have Martha Huro, we've got Trufosa Hapisu, and we'll refer to her as Trufi during the show, and we've got Kenneth Thimba, again, my friend who I'll refer to as KT. And our host, who is a familiar face on our screens, Mr. Waweru Njoroge. Behind the scenes, the face that you don't see is Mr. Elijah Mumo, who does a commendable job with switching between the screens. And for those watching us live on YouTube or Facebook, you can ask your questions, make comments, and we'll bring them up on screen where possible. We value your contribution to the show, and you can follow us via Twitter and Facebook handles, which are at Gr8leaderslive, the 8 being a letter 8. Or email us on Gr8leadership, again with the 8, at gmail.com. So Waweru, over to you now, and let's enjoy the show. Karibuni sana.
I've been warned that these guys can really talk, so we're going to try and keep it tight and bright. Let's start with the usual way of introductions. I'm going to start with Martha. Please introduce yourself in terms of what you do, a bit of a background, then I'll shift to Trufi, and then we'll finish with KT.
Great. Hi, everyone. My name is Martha Huro Gitao, otherwise known as Miss Huro. I've been in the marketing industry, sales and marketing for 7 years now, currently at Transnet Music Limited, also or popularly known as Boomplay, the #1 music streaming and download service. We offer music, or we sell music on behalf of artists. I'm very happy to be here, and I'm looking forward to have an interesting conversation with my fellow guests and hosts. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Martha. Trufi, over to you.
And my name is Trufosa Hapisu. It's great to be in this show this evening. My background is in insurance, sales insurance, where I worked with different organizations, all the way from being a salesperson to management, where I managed teams. I am currently a founder of an organization called True International Limited. We are a distribution agency who works with organizations that have lean workforce. We help them take their products, or mainly solutions or services, to the marketplace using different cost-effective models. I am a believer. I am a mother of children, and I've been married for 20 plus years. And so I have 20 plus years also in my sales career. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Trufi. KT, last but not least. The joys of doing live shows. Unmute your mic, my friend. And I'm sure he's already said like 50 words, more than 50 words.
Anyway.
Okay,
sorry,
thanks,
guys.
KT.
My name is Kenneth Thimba, or KT. Yeah, you can see technology. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, Waweru. I've spent easily the last 25 years of my life selling, what I call hardcore sales, hitting the streets, knocking on doors, getting chased away, to more savvy selling, where you email, call, set up a meeting, set up a PowerPoint presentation. So I've worked in the sales industry in various fields for over the last, say, easily 25 years, right from a salesperson to a sales manager, to doing more strategic things that may include marketing. I'm happy to be here. I run a small sales and marketing consultancy that does strategy, training, and outsourced sales management. Happy to be here. Thanks.
Thanks so much, Katie, for joining us. And all our guests. This is Great Leadership Live. Of course, this is episode 8. We're getting there. It's a lot of fun, as always, to have our guests in studio, and I hope they'll enlighten a lot of people who are looking to get into sales or understand how sales actually works better. So I understand that at the moment, we're going to have a quick intro in terms of whether salespeople are born or whether they're made. And after that, I'm going to ask Katie to please expound on that aspect of whether salespeople are born or made.
Okay, I don't know why the thing has disappeared from my side, but I'll bring it up here. Technology sometimes also beats the very best of us. Right. So let's see that. So Katie?
Yeah, thanks, Mato. Yeah, obviously, this is something that all of us who run businesses, be they small, be they mamamboga type, intermediaries, SMEs, when you're thinking about a salesperson, are salespeople born or made? But one of the things that people forget, and I don't know whether any of you have heard of the 10,000 hour rule. Any of you guys on the panel, have you heard of the 10,000 hour rule? Well, there's a guy in America who has a theory that if you do something for 10,000 hours, which is approximately 3,339 days or 4 years, you become an expert. Yeah. So, is being a good salesperson someone who can talk smoothly, connect with people, give valuable information? Or is it just a guy who can talk and talk and talk and talk? Now, while you answer this, and we'll appreciate your answers, we also need to think about other professions, because many people don't look at sales as a profession. So are lawyers made? Are doctors made? Are engineers made? Or are they born? Would you look at one guy or go to, say, Nairobi Hospital's nursery and say, that's a doctor, that's an engineer, and that would be a nurse? So, interesting question. Please just turn it around and see. Are salespeople born or made? Thanks.
Thanks so much. That's quicker than I thought you. I thought you was going to go on for 10,000 hours, but you know. Right. I'm going to take my attention and change my question now to Trufi. I'd like to ask this question. Does selling process end once the customer has handed over cash to you? That's it. As in, you've given me cash, that's it, and that's the sales process finished.
Thank you. I'm so glad, because 20 years plus of experience in insurance teaches you quite a lot. And this question, I just wish the new incoming salespeople can borrow from some of the experience that we have, because then we really annoy some clients in terms of we pick cash and we run away. The next time a client gets to hear from you is when you're either picking the renewal check or when you have problems. So as a professional salesperson, we need to know the sales process, which begins right from prospecting and it goes all the way up to after sales service. And so our business is about building relationships. So we have to work on our relationships. It takes us to keep calling, communicating, sharing new information about the product or service, something related, and continually being present so that clients can reach us in case they have queries, in case they have complaints. To date, I am no longer in the insurance industry, but I have clients who call me either to report an accident when they've had an accident, or a client who wants to know which hospital, because I've been in healthcare and I've also been in the motor insurance and even life insurance. So I become a consultant just because of how I've positioned myself. I don't end the process at picking the check. I go on up to picking the renewal check and even getting referrals and more.
Okay, thanks, Trufi. I want to bring Martha into this conversation now. Something that Trufi actually just said in terms of building relationships, and for me, obviously, or maybe for all of us, a lot of us rather, is that the aspect of knocking on somebody's door, them opening and saying, "Oh, my name is so and so," etc., or calling them up and what have you. But now I want to then look at the aspect, and this is where a lot of businesses are going in terms of online versus offline. All right. In terms of sale, how do these actually complement each other? And is the African market ready for the whole online space?
Yes, just to continue with the thought process that Trufi was on, these two complement each other. Offline, or what is otherwise known as traditional ways of selling things, is complemented by the new way of selling things, which is online. So we've seen a spike of people coming online to buy stuff. However, being Africans, or the African market is not actually quite ready at the moment because, trust issues, fraudulent activities, and all that. However, those two go hand in hand and they complement each other. So we've seen people believing like, it's, if I don't go to a physical shop, or if I don't see whatever I'm buying physically, then I'll be swindled, or somebody will take my money and not give me the services. But a good example of how they complement each other is during this pandemic. We've seen so many businesses, closing the physical shop and actually going online. So yes, they do complement each other. They ride on each other's strengths and they cover each other's weaknesses. For example, you're offline, you have a physical shop, and you deal with so many people, and you deal with a lot of cash. So you're prone to people like stealing from you, or people, just organized crime, and they come and steal from you. But if you do online, you don't get to really interact with the customer face to face. You interact through a space, and you actually get to trade. So the customer gets the goods, and you get the money. So I'll just conclude by saying yes, they complement each other, they ride on each other, and they cover each other's weaknesses, so to speak.
Okay, thanks, Martha. I want to be a bit of a hard hitter, and it's not because I'm traditional or I lean toward traditional. I think the whole thing of online is fantastic. But I'm going to come to Ken and ask this question. Fine. So, in order to avoid pilfering and all that kind of stuff, then you have the aspect of online. But then do I become a lone wolf? And I ask myself, then is it actually necessary to have a team of salespeople, or can I just do everything else myself, especially if I'm online?
Oh, great. Being traditional, then I'm sure, Waweru, this example will resonate with you. How many disciples did Jesus have?
Yeah,
12.
12.
Oh.
Yeah.
If you lived in this day, and if he lived in the online age, would he have 12 disciples, or would he have 12 Facebook handles?
Okay.
And I guess what I'm trying to say.
I see what you mean. Okay.
While having a presence online is great. I mean, we've seen the millions Jeff Bezos is making with Amazon, and here locally Jumia, and so on and so forth. But I think that in terms of what the sales team brings to the table is the ability to create a bigger network than you have. So I have 3,000 followers on Facebook. If I have 12 other people like me, that will be 12 times 3,000. So we'll be talking about 36,000. So the reason for me having a sales team is because I'd be able to expand my reach. And again, if you think of the biggest businesses in the world, what they have done is open up, be it even, say, restaurants, call it McDonald's, or locally Java. We've, in fact, easy. One of the things to do is say, why didn't we have just one Java? Yeah, they should be, as opposed to having them all over the place for people to enjoy the Java experience. So the need for a sales team, definitely, COVID, no COVID, online or offline, is absolutely necessary, because you're able to tap in, one, to their networks. Number two, you're able to also give people a livelihood. Who knows what sales skills I am? Right now, I'm sitting here. Trufi is a believer. So if she was my salesperson, I know my believers market segment is handled. Martha is in what did she say? It's called Boom 12 or something like that. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, on Boom Play, at be able to have a presence there. And each person has their own style and their own network, which we call in sales a natural market. And that's the key thing about having a team.
Yes.
Okay, thanks, Katie. Actually, and there's something that you've just mentioned that's triggered a question I want to ask to Trufi. With regards to the whole aspect of COVID-19, right? Is this new norm brought about by COVID-19 pandemic itself? How does the world become a global market in terms of the pandemic, obviously, and what it's done for everybody around the world, how it's affected them, and how should sales professionals tap into the digital worlds to help them prospect and continue to generate leads?
Personally, I'm so excited about the world becoming digital because right now I don't have to travel to a different country to meet, to have my meetings there. And it's not just in the sales profession, but I know with the COVID situation, employers all of a sudden, I was reading this morning about Andela. They've all, they no longer have offices. They have all been moved to their homes and working from home. And so as salespeople, we need to upgrade in terms of how is our presence online. And so personally, I am very active right now on LinkedIn, on Twitter, on Facebook, as much as that wasn't my space. But the world has changed. So every salesperson needs to move on there. And there's a language, because then you have to really continue with your trade. And the beauty about it is I'm not limited to just a local market, but I can be in Rwanda anytime. I can be in any other market, and yet we are so advanced compared to some countries in East Africa and even worldwide. So it takes us to position ourselves and really know how to use gadgets, how to be online, and whichever. I mean, I told my children I'll not go on TikTok, but if my career forces me to be on it, I will be on it.
Thank you very much, Trufi. And then I want to lead on from there. Martha, I'm going to come to you with this question. From an online perspective, I think Trufi had mentioned an aspect of gadgets, but from an online perspective, what guidelines and tools can be used to effectively sell products and services?
Okay, from an online perspective, you can use various guidelines and tools. First of all, you need to profile your clients. Not all your products or services should be channeled to all clients. Sometimes, for example, and forgive me for using this particular example, but if you're a salesperson who's selling dildos, your clientele is not everyone. You don't cover the scope around everyone. So you need to make sure that you profile your clients so that you reach the right people who are intended by your services and product. The second one should be transparency. We've seen a lot of cases of fraud, people not believing online services because they've been swindled before. So your business will be very transparent. You should give, articulate information about your business, articulate information about what you're selling, articulate information about what you're giving or, after sales services. Number 3 will be packaging. How you package your products and services. It matters a lot. For example, like on Boomplay, we sell music. Now so it matters a lot. So basically, packaging is important because that is what sells your brand, sells your product, sells your services to the intended clients. Number 4 would be referrals. Most people don't pay attention to reviews or don't pay attention to what the clients are saying about your products and services online. So this is very important because that's your form of referral. So if I go on a website or if I go on a page and I see great reviews, great things that people have said, that will actually prompt me as a client to come and buy your product or services. And let's utilize ads online. That gives you, that opens up your product or sales to a wider and general audience. So not only the people who are in your scope of following your page, for example, if you're on social platforms, but above and beyond. And last but not least, cross-marketing. Some people just know, when I want to sell online, maybe I'll go to Facebook, but there's something like Instagram, there's Twitter, there's LinkedIn, there's TikTok. So you can use so many platforms to market your product and services. So I calling on to everybody, just make sure that you exhaust all forms of marketing and all that.
Thank you, Martha. Just remind our listeners, our viewers rather, this is a PG-13 show. It was very interesting. Yeah, I was not expecting that example, and I'm sure there's a lot of kids turning to their mothers and fathers saying, "Daddy, what's a?" But we'll leave that. So now, assuming this packaging for this particular product that Martha has now just mentioned, I want to then turn to KT. I don't know why, but to ask this question, right? So, where do I find? No, I'm saying, where do I find this?
I'm not the target market.
You might not be, but then this question actually, in terms of, because we call you Mwalimu, then how do I go about finding this person, right? This person is going to sell this particular product that Martha just mentioned. I prefer to use the analogy of I sell screen doors to submarine owners, but anyway, that's a different story. Or ashtrays to guys who own motorbikes. But yeah, where do you find the person who's actually going to be what you call a good salesperson?
Where do I find the salesperson, or where do I find the clients? Sorry.
Where do you find a good salesperson actually?
Oh, where do I find a good salesperson? Where you find a good salesperson, ideally, is almost the same as where you find an ideal client. Traditionally, people don't even think about the role of the salesperson and what they want them to do. So one of the first things you do, whether you are a small business or a large business, is to create a profile of the ideal salesperson. What should this person look like? What should they talk like? Is it a man? Is it predominantly men or women? So to use Martha's earlier PG-13 example, I don't think men would be able to sell that product pretty well. So immediately that defines your profile of salesperson. Right. But more than anything, your salesperson, your good salesperson, is found within your network. So I personally rely a lot on my network, because then what I also do is that I give them the opportunity to maybe open up to their friends, their relatives, and say, hey guys, a friend of mine is hiring. And it gives you an extra background check, because if I say Martin or Waweru or Trufi or Martha referred you immediately, if that person sort of messes up, I can always pick up the phone and call Waweru and say, hey Waweru, this guy from Nyeri you brought, I don't know, is there anything wrong? And even the salesperson has a greater sense of responsibility, given that they've been referred to by someone. So that's one source from your network. Yeah, the people you know, the people you interact with, and so on. Number two is the obvious one, which is job boards. I use job boards for different things. I use actually job boards to approach companies, to identify companies that I will sell training services to. Because the moment a client puts an ad on LinkedIn, My Jobs Fuzu Jobs, Brighter Monday, and so on, and I see sales executives, 5 positions, for me, as someone who sells training, I say, they're getting new sales guys, so there's an opportunity there. But on the other hand, the person hiring, that's one way of also recruiting. Another way, which is a gangster way, is by poaching. Yeah. It happens in soccer all the time. Cristiano Ronaldo moved from Man U to what's the old lady called? Anyway, yeah. And who moved from where to where, and who? And these guys just put money on the table. So sometimes you can do that depending on how many resources or how much resources are at your disposal. So first of all, you need to understand what profile are you playing in, or where am I? What kind of resources do I have? And that will then give you a guide as to what kind of salesperson you should get.
Thank you. I've got 2 follow-up questions. Actually, one is going to be to Trufi. The other one is going to be back to KT, but I'm going to jump in with Martha. But let's just take a quick break in terms of I'd love to have an ad break. So anybody's got some money they want to spend on the show, by all means, just throw it at me. I'll have my people call your people. But I want to switch to Mato. Mato has a quick interlude that he wants to try and bring in.
Yes. Just before that, there's a question here. I'll put it up, let you give it some thought when I bring in the next. So this is from Alice Molimo, who was one of our guests last week. What is the place of big data and artificial intelligence in segmentation of consumers when selling? This, I think, is a really important. Huh?
Could you say that in English?
The key things here is data, artificial intelligence, and segmentation of consumers. So while you're thinking that, I'll bring up something that I came across this morning. Mbona imepotea tena? Let me just get it very quickly.
Okay.
Keep disappearing on me. I'll just find it here. Don't get lost. There we go. Found it very quickly. So I found this quite interesting because it says a lot when it comes to. So I don't know how big it is. Let me just put it on full screen or make it bigger. So you can see the salesman from Coke returns from his assignment in Saudi Arabia. And a friend asks, why weren't you successful with the Saudis? And the salesman explained, when I got posted, I was very confident I would make a good sales pitch. This is basically being in a different culture and territory. Yeah? But I had a problem. I didn't know how to speak Arabic, so I planned to convey the message through 3 posters. So first poster, we have a man lying on the hot desert sand, totally exhausted and fainting. And the second, the middle picture, you have a man drinking a nice cold Coke. And in the third one, we have a man who is totally refreshed and running. You know, has got his sugar kick and is very energized in this hot desert sun. Well, terrific, the guy says. That should have worked. The hell it should have, said the salesman. No one told me that they read from right to left. And that changed the whole meaning and the sequence of this image. So you have this guy running in the hot sun, really energized and doing well. And after he gets a drink of Coke, next thing we see him lying on the ground. We don't know if he's dead or alive. So what's this basically telling us? Basically, Coke is bad for you, right? So I think also you have to understand the context in which you are communicating and trying to come up with your sales pitch. Know the territory, know the religious practices, just understand your market thoroughly in all aspects. Yeah, over to you, Waweru.
Thanks, Martin. Before I move to the question, I wanted to ask Trufi. I just want to get any comments from any of our guests in terms of what Martin had just shared. Anything maybe that might have been personal, where you went and had issues in terms of culture, religious, or any other barriers to entry that you taught you a lesson in terms of how to approach things going forward. Anybody can jump in.
I have one example where in my earlier days of sales, I was part of the team that introduced Zidisha Biashara, the first Zidisha Biashara package. And the area that I was allocated was industrial area. Now, we all know that most Indians or most businesses are owned by Indians. And to them, they were loyal to Airtel and Zain that time. And here I am trying to pitch Safaricom to them. So it was really hard for them to take it up because their loyalty did not lie with Safaricom. So I was very frustrated going door to door, being rejected, and you know how people can reject a salesperson. So it was very demotivating. So I sat down under a tree, and I thought to myself, how can I do? What can I bring to the table to convert these people from using what they are currently using to what I want them to use? And it clicked. They are minimalists. They like seeing value for money. So that's how I approached the process. I was not selling them the brand name, but I was selling them the benefits and the idea behind the packages that I was selling. And guess what? My first client of Zidisha Biashara ever was an Indian. So that taught me something. Do your research. Make sure you know the target market that you're going into. Profile them, and then use use the benefits or use packaging of your product and services to sell whatever you're selling.
Thanks, Martha. That's a nice personal example. I'm sure it will resonate with a lot of people in terms of, having to deal with frustrations and rejections and the like. I wanted to find out I want to go to Trufi first. Before I lose my train of thought, in terms of something that I noted with regards to what KT had been talking about, and sales as a career, basically. So how does sales as a career solve the huge unemployment gap in Kenya and now worldwide?
There's unfortunately a big gap in unemployment, especially in our country. And from my experience, while recruiting, because I know a lot of people, some of the things we need to train people into in our country is in being entrepreneurs compared to looking for, office jobs. I have come to really appreciate the sales career, because then you can choose what you want to be. I have met people, some of my previous salespeople. One was an actuarial scientist, and he started off as an intern and then began to sell, went into sales, and today he became so comfortable because then through his sales career and through the businesses he got, today he's one of the senior salespeople in an organization he works in now. So you can either choose to remain as a salesperson or grow in career. You can draw your own career path and even move into management. And so for me, I would really want this country to venture into internships that allow people to become entrepreneurs. And I find it in sales. When I joined sales in early 2000, I was told I'm being given a job that will give me an open check. I'll get an office, but then I have office space. As I grew in the career, then I got to even buy my own desktop, laptop. So it depends on how you draw your career path. So I find it possible. And sales does not have limitations in terms of even your education background. You could be a graduate, you could even have master's program, you could be old, it is not age-based. So it includes everybody, as long as you have passion for what you're doing and you're hungry for money. So it gives you opportunity to earn from your effort. And so I find it as a career that can reward, especially in this season where so many people have lost jobs and they do not know where to start. And considering we have gone globally, so I find it something that can really reward, especially the unemployed.
Thanks so much, Trufi. We can take the question Alice has asked about big data.
Yes.
We can just have that up on the screen again. At least repeat. And then we'll ask Professor to answer this one.
Now I'm become professor. Thank you. It's getting a bit dark, so I'm on my veranda here. My garden is right in front of. Anyway, those are details. But
do you say?
Yeah.
My time to answer the question.
No, I'm actually thinking of Alice's question, and I want to turn it around. She said big data, artificial intelligence, and segmentation of the market. What I'd do is look at it the other way around. The first thing you would do as a business, whether online or offline, is segment your market. So who is my target market? Is it above 35, above 45, below 30, and so on? Yeah. So for example, when you segment your market, you would say that my market is, say, children for Ribena berries. But how do I place my product for Ribena berries? Because children are not the ones who spend. But then there's the nag factor, where if the Ribena berry keeps showing on my TV, the kids, every time their mom takes them to shopping, they'll sing that little jingle with Ribena berry and push you then to buy that product. So the first thing you would do is take your analog client segmentation, because that forms the basis then of the AI or big data. Some companies have done it, or some industries have done it over a long period of time, but no one has ever thought that that was the base of big data. And these are insurance companies. I don't know whether when you fill out an insurance form, be it health or medical, whatever insurance you're buying, they ask you, and like, I'll give Awero as an example. Many years ago, as a young journalist, he was on TV, on primetime news, etc., and used to drive a big, loud Subaru. Was it? It was a Subaru what?
Legacy, the blue one.
Yeah, the blue one. Yeah. So we would be sitting at our local, and I could hear the car from 2 kilometers away. I kept looking over my shoulder and wondering, when is this guy going to get here? So he rolls in after maybe a minute or so, and immediately I'd look at him and say, that is high risk. He's 27, 28. He drives a blue Subaru with yellow rims, and it has a big exhaust. Yeah, so if I was going to sell him insurance, I would take those details. Yeah, and immediately someone says, journalist, what time do you work? Prime time. So say maybe he's in the office from 7 to 9. Then he goes back again in the afternoon. What is he going to do immediately after he leaves work? That's total high risk. And he's a bachelor who lives in Kileleshwa. Yeah. So that's the essence of big data. Big data then now starts telling you, the person who's creating the product, that this is high risk and we should price his risk at X or Y. Yeah, and come up with a rate. So big data and AI is going to be absolutely huge in the future, but it depends purely on the parameters. In order to be able to get a report, a big data report or an artificial intelligence report, you've got to feed in raw data, and you've got to feed in the raw data based on your product and the market segment, and then AI would be able to work for you.
Okay, thanks, Ken, and thanks for the reminder. I think it was KH 986N.
High risk.
Yeah, it was high risk. It was fond memories. Trufi, do you have something to add to that?
Trufi, allow me. Alice has sent something else. I just want you to see this so that you can merge it with what you're about to say, please. Sorry for coming in like this. So to give context to my question, can I use artificial intelligence to reduce the time of sourcing customers or target the correct customers? So again, I think KT answered it more or less. Or are we not there yet? Must we still hit the pavements?
And what I would like to say is the beauty about digital marketing, which is one of the models that we offer to our clients. We offer to distribute through digital marketing channels. And so you can run an audit. And so from the digital marketing audit that you do from the different social media platforms, you're able to know who your target market is. So it's easy to profile them and to segment them, and even to either choose to approach them using email marketing or calling. And so as much as KT said, we still need people to do legwork. The legwork is reduced. I specialize in dealing with, I work with agents who are distributed all over the country. And sometimes it's not easy to go individually to different places. But then we have made it easy because it's also cost effective when either we use the digital reports that we get from the social media handles to write to these clients. So we kind of bridge the gap that is there, the processes of sales. Maybe we only need to go and send someone now to close somebody senior. So you don't have to work with many agents, but it helps us to limit just from the reports we get, mainly from the social media handles that we use. And that's why we are encouraging salespeople to plug into the digital space, because then there's a lot of data you can draw from it.
Thanks, Trufosa. Martha, I think there's something you wanted to add to that conversation.
Yes, all of us are consumers one way or another, and most of the times when we log on to websites or platforms, online. The products that we're looking at or the services that we're looking at, they always ask us questions, especially if they deal with an array of products. So why they ask these questions is to identify the particular product that is suited for your needs and your wants. So this has also been integrated into most of the websites and platforms, which helps in big data and bringing you the correct information of the correct product that you're sourcing for. So yes, this is where the world is going. So the more information you give, the easier it is for custom-made products and services to be sold to you. Also, when, for example, take Facebook ads. When you want to put up as a brand or as a client, when you want to put on an ad, they ask you for questions so they know the correct target market to display your ads to. So yes, this is playing a very big role in how the world is doing sales and will continue to play a very big role in the years to come.
Okay, thanks so much, Martha. Ken is trying to find some good lighting, apparently. So I'm going to ask Trufi this question. I think you have touched on it. Let's just try and expand on it a bit more. And I don't know why I'm picking you for COVID, but it's nothing personal. So the pandemic has changed the way consumers are actually doing what they do. Basically, the behavior has actually changed, which has also caused the aspect of online sales actually then mushrooming. But what are the advantages of e-commerce for startups? And are there any disadvantages actually as well?
About the beauty about mushrooming of business is then it gives the consumers a variety of avenues and many channels of getting the business. Right now, we never ever imagined that we could order from Taskies or from the supermarket and the delivery is made at your house. And so this was meant to reduce the cost and make it even possible. So I'm excited to have participated and partnered with several players in the market. I don't know how many of you have heard about MTIBA, where you sign up on a healthcare platform, and this platform allows you to save money to pay for your medical bills. What about My Dawa, where it is an online pharmacy? So the beauty about it is that it makes your life easy. Today, I don't have to spend my whole day going to pharmacy after pharmacy to buy medication. All I need to do is download the app, and then I order whatever I want to order, pay through M-Pesa. So we have mobile mode of payment. We can pay through Visa. We have seen platforms like Mchanga, which is a crowdfunding platform. So instead of people sending money on your personal line, then you can you just send money through a pay bill that is to Mchanga directly. It gives you reports. And so this has made it so easy. You can transact any time of the day or night without even having a physical approach with a salesperson. So I really appreciate how it is so good. There are platforms that offer children's toys. So there's all that. We don't even have to go to shops to buy furniture. Everyone is advertising on digital space, and they're in all social media handles. So it becomes easy. So for startups, it's quite encouraging because then you don't need a big workforce to work for you. But then it doesn't mean that you do not need to delegate. There are instances where you need to work with people that are specialized in going, for example, to the bottom of the pyramid markets, because then not everybody knows their way in those markets. When I go to Kibera or Kawangware, I have to speak their language. I have to look like they look. And so I'll not go with too much, but then I go so that they buy me first before they buy what I'm selling. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much, Trufi. Actually, I wanted to stay with you on that, but I'll come back to you with regards to what you just said about going to BOP. Ken, it's good to have you back. This is not your garden, I'm assuming. It looks like an office building, but neither here nor there. I want to ask you a double-pronged question, and it's picked up from something that Trufi said with regards to qualifications for salesperson. You can be old, you can be young, and things like that. But I was imagining when people actually post things on LinkedIn and what have you, they tell you have to have at least a minimum of 10 years sales experience and show 5 of those years in senior management and what have you. So what I wanted to ask is, what kind of experience, or, I'd asked you before about where do you find a good salesperson? So then, but from that, following up from that, what qualifications does a good salesperson actually have to have? And then how do you actually tell whether they're any good or not? And he's muted again.
Okay. Oh yeah, he's an host. Thanks.
You're welcome.
That's actually a very good question. I mean, what are the qualifications, or what qualifications do you look for in a good salesperson? And many people sometimes, and more so in Kenya, have tended to look at the academics and said, yeah, as long as you've done KCSE, or you've got a first degree, or you've got an MBA, then you can be a good salesperson. My personal experience is this. Number one, I hire for aptitude. A good salesperson, I hire for attitude, not aptitude. Yeah, because you may have a smart guy who can fill out all the X's and is a professional at passing interviews and so on, but he just has a bad attitude. So you have to hire, number one, for attitude. Then, can you see me? Hello? Whoops. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can. Okay.
Can see you.
Then the next thing is you you can see me.
Yes.
Okay, I can't. My screen has just gone off.
It's okay. Maybe
So like I was saying, you first.
Ooh. Okay. Seems like KT going outside did not help his signal at all. So let me come to Martha. I see we're going to be running out of time soon. So I want to ask Martha this question, right? What is the future of the digital sales space, and what to look out for, and tools to use as a salesperson?
The future is very bright. The digital space, especially for the African market, is fairly new, and we're still opening up the space. However, it's very bright. According to International Data Corporation (IDC), by the end of this year, we should have 823 million mobile phone users, 517 million of which are smartphone users. So that tells you that there's a growing space of the online space, and more and more people are trying to utilize this space. So there are 3 things I would like to mention for a typical salesperson, and this cuts across online and also offline. Price points, availability of product and service, and number 3, and not the least, after sales services. This was touched on by Trufi. So those 3 things combined will really help salespeople as tools to identify the needs of their consumers or users, as well as fulfill the needs and wants of the consumers and users. So the future is very bright. We can only go up from here. And more people, especially during this time, people have time, people have good connection, internet connectivity, and they want to see what products are there. So let's utilize this as brands, let's utilize this as business people, let's utilize this as sales people. So yes, the future is bright, and it can keep on going up from here on.
Thank you so much, Martha. Trufi, as we're waiting, KT is having issues with Kenya Power. So Trufi, there's something the reason why I wanted to stay with you on the question you'd asked before, or rather I'd asked you before, the aspect of bottom of the pyramid. Basically, as a country, how do we incorporate bottom of the pyramid market? I know you touched on it. I want you to just expand on that, right? So your Mama Bogas, and the one that is really interesting, and not only, I'm a bit oblivious to some of these things, but the Kadogo economy, my Swahili is terrible. And this, I say, touch on these in terms of harnessing sales as a career and also a market for these kind of, so Mama Boga and Kadogo economies.
Very exciting. because then the Kadogo economy offers numbers. And in sales, it's all about numbers. The more people that can buy your product, the more people that can subscribe to your service, the better. And so I have partnered with, I've been contracted with several players in the market, new ones coming with innovative services that require or push their services through technology. And I've seen us register people in the below the line markets. We've registered them on, for example, a promotion where we registered you and confined you. You know, like what promotional, what do you call them? You know, like what is run with Tuskies or supermarkets, they give you points.
Merchandisers, yeah.
You can go and redeem your points, yeah? So with the Kadogo economy, you can imagine there was a time in this country we could not all afford to take a taxi. It was almost a luxury. But what has happened with the Ubers now, we have a choice, you know, and we even have Safe Boda. I no longer have to go to pick my things from the city center, which is congested. All I have to do is go into the app and order my stuff. So I think Kenyans need to upgrade. You know, business people need to come up with apps even to incorporate Mama Mboga. That's, in fact, I have such a burden for that Mama Mboga, because then, yes, I shop from the supermarket, but I would also like to go to the market to pick my fresh deliveries. And so if you can imagine us incorporating the serious Mama Mbogas onto platforms just like the Ubers. And then we call them, or we send in our orders. You know, first we will have to register them, then we'll send in our orders and incorporate even the taxis to drop them at our houses. So we no longer need to go to the market, and we will be empowering Kenyans and even encouraging more and more people to go into self-employment compared to seeking employment. And so I wish we can really incorporate the bottom of the pyramid, because then there's so many ideas there. There's Mama Mboga, there's the Kadogo economy, which buys all the time. So there's so much that can be drawn from that I challenge many people who are business and people who are good in developing apps, if they can venture into that.
Thank you so much, Trufi. KT, welcome back.
Yeah, power outage.
No, it's okay.
Murphy's Law.
Yeah, absolutely. So do you want to pick up where we left off with you in terms of, this aspect of what qualifications you need to have in order to be sales, and how can you tell whether a person who's in sales is actually good?
Well, like I said, salespeople are made. So naturally, there are some people who are extroverts and are able to mingle and create networks. That happens naturally. However, even someone who's an introvert, and I know a couple of introverts who've made the best salespeople. Why? Because our brain works in two ways. The mathematicians and so on are more what we call left-brained, and the more creative artists are right-brained. But people who follow processes, and you find mathematicians are very good at that, or accountants or doctors, because sales technically is a process. They might not have great networks, but they're able to take a client through a particular process and be able to still get the desired outcome. So the thing is to be able to create your architecture around your interview is key. It should be able to bring out those things that really show a good attitude. It could be anything from what time do you get up in the morning on weekends. That will tell you that, hey, okay, fine. And on weekdays, yeah? Or ask someone what they're passionate about. So you'll find, for example, maybe the guys who are not watching will catch up later, are all watching Manu, Chelsea, and so on. Have you ever spoken to any one of those guys and listened to the passion with which they talk about those teams? And you wonder, but you're so far away. You probably can't even afford a ticket. Do you know it's 70 pounds to get into the stadium? That guy will tell you no. But me, I believe in these guys. He has a shirt and so on. And if you're able to translate that same passion they talk about Man U, who I think wouldn't be able to make European champions today. But anyway, that's a story for another day. If that person can be able to speak that way, or the likes of Trufi, who are believers, if you ask Trufi today, Proverbs verse chapter 3, verse 4, and whatever, she'll get a certain glow in her face, and she'll start talking about, oh, you know, the Lord's promise was this and that. If you're able, that is the aptitude that you look for in a salesperson. It may not just come out immediately, but then your interviewing should start bringing out things like that. What are they passionate about? Then your job as the person hiring should be, how can I make this person come up with that passion each and every day, especially when they're in front of clients?
KT, there's a question here from Pretty Engineer Mbudia.
Yes.
What makes a salesperson, men or women?
Sorry?
What makes better salesperson?
Okay.
Can we open that question up to the two ladies here as well? I think it'd be unfair for KT to answer it by himself.
Each one will get a chance to answer.
No,
okay.
I've worked with many sales teams in the 20 plus years I've been in sales, and it's been exciting. Both men and women do well, but somehow single ladies have done extremely well in life insurance. In life insurance especially. And it is not because they are single, but they work so hard and they fend for their families. They take their children to very good schools. And
I disagree with that totally.
They are known to be very committed, and they meet they set goals, because sales is about setting goals and working at the goals you've set. And the beauty
single
about
men don't have goals.
Because of responsibility.
Okay, Trufi, no. Yes? That route I disagree. Okay, let me go two ways. I'll go scientific, then I'll go day to day. Yeah. There's something called, I run a course called the Science of Sales. And in the Science of Sales, I describe different forms of capital. So there's things like human capital, and human capital is what you have read, where you have gone to school. There's things like social capital that politicians use, that I'm a popular guy, hey, my name is Johnson Sakaja, and you build your social capital and you can use that to get you votes. Yeah. Then there's economic capital. I'm a rich man, or I come from a rich family. I can use that to be able to get me where I want. So there's all those types of capital. Sauti Sol have great social capital, yeah, or artistic capital, because yes, they sing good songs and so on and so forth. But then there's one aspect then now that there's actually a book written about it by a professor in London School of Economics called Catherine Hakim. And that's something called erotic capital, which is what we see and maybe what Trufi is talking about. I mean, look at all our TV presenters, low-cut dresses, and so on and so forth. If I'm sitting in a boardroom, yes, definitely I like what I see. It makes it easier. But I can tell you, yeah, yes. And where in a situation maybe 10 years ago where the decision makers were men. Yes. Now, where also almost 50% of decision makers are women, go on with your lipstick and she'll tell you, no, that's not the real Mac. That's not Mac. That's a fake one. That one you bought from whatever. I can even check your nails. You've not. So so now the Ben 10s are now coming up. So now they're the guys who are selling more. Yeah, but then again,
let me ask Martha to jump in there before we wrap it.
Yes, let me tie break this one. I think Katie, you mentioned it from the onset. Salespeople are made. And that shows that anybody can be a good salesperson, whether you're a male or a female. And this actually boils down to the industry or your forte, what you're good at. Of course, what I mentioned before that, for the purpose of this show, I won't mention again. Katie, you mentioned that it can be sold by men. So, I mean, it depends. For me, it depends with the product or the service that is being sold. For some products and services, women can sell better. From some products and services, men can sell better than women. So it's a question of which service which product, not who can sell better. So that's my 2 cents on that.
Thank you so much, Martha.
What about the soft touch that comes with a lady, apart from the physical? The fact that we are more empathetic, yeah?
It still depends with what you're selling, Trufi.
Yeah, then you should be in HR.
A man cannot sell. A man cannot sell me a lipstick better than a woman can, because a woman will boil down. It's a MAC, it's a ruby red, a ruby woo, sorry, and it's 059. But a man will be like, it's red lipstick, take it or leave it.
Okay,
yeah?
I don't agree with that.
We could have this debate. We could have this debate until the couple come home. So what I'm going to suggest is maybe we just have a show dedicated to that question. Thanks, Riti, for just opening a can of worms here. You just opened Pandora's box, which we'll try and close somewhere down the future, somewhere down the line, I hope. So as always, as tradition on this show, Great Leadership Live, we'd like to ask our guests their parting shots with regards to what we've done with today's show, or any thoughts they had about sales as a whole. I'm going to start with Martha, then Trufosa, then I'll close with KT. Sorry,
is there a reason why I keep on starting? Okay,
you're the top of the screen.
Oh, okay. As a salesperson for the number of years I've been I would like to urge the audiences that are watching, please, when you see a salesperson, this person has worked a lot. So don't be quick to chase them away. Don't be quick to judge them, but just listen to what they're saying. Pay close attention to what they're selling, and give them some motivation, because sometimes rejection causes a lot of damage that you can't begin to realize. And I would like to urge each one and every one of you to just log on to Boomplay for all your musical needs, the #1 music streaming app in Africa. Thank you.
Thanks, Martha. Trufi, over to you.
For me, just like what Martha said, for me, sales has really rewarded me. I was not as talkative as I am today. I have learned to talk through my sales career. My first manager had a really tough time when I began to sell, because I had to borrow from how he talks to how he presents. But through the years, I have really challenged myself. We've had to go and learn and read and follow after trends and borrow into things that we are not, because then Katie said, yes, I am a believer, but then it doesn't mean that I deal with believers only, but then the beauty about it is that my value systems, my principles are different. And so let us embrace salespeople. This is somebody who rightfully has a career, has a family to take care of. And I want to urge my fellow salespeople, let us invest in our career. Let us invest in what we believe in. Ensure that we do it well. Let us stop lying. Let us stop overselling and presenting what is not there. Otherwise, at True International, you can look at our website. We look forward to working with you. We specialize mostly in the bottom of the pyramid markets to take your solutions and services to them. And so contact us privately. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Trufi. Sorry, this show is about sales. You just see what those two ladies just did right there. Katie, take it home.
Yeah, okay. In closing, I'd like to sort of split this up into two. One, the employers of salespeople, and two, the salespeople themselves. Number one, I'd like to urge the employers, and I've seen in many places I've worked. There's usually, and maybe it's the fault of the salespeople, but there's some sort of disdain that salespeople are carried with. That this guy is just in sales, after all. I mean, it's just sales. Anyone can do it. So what ends up happening is that even in terms of the kind of people that are selected, I was showing a friend of mine an MBA program, a master's in marketing. It has only one module on sales and sales management out of 12 on an MSc marketing in any top university. So any of the guys you've employed in sales, I'd challenge any employer, show me one who has a degree or an MBA in sales. I can almost tell you there'll be none. It will be one module in 12 electives. Yeah. So most probably you don't even have the right people. So maybe you need to reevaluate who you're looking for and what skills. Yeah, things like sales management. Is it a process or is it just guesswork? Yeah. What happens when there's employee conflict? What happens when someone is weak in prospecting as opposed to closing, or if someone doesn't deliver my product the way I want it? The next thing for employers, invest in training. Most probably all of you guys are sports lovers, yeah? And I'd like to use Tiger Woods as an example, yeah? And there's a saying, and most probably everyone will chime in, when I say practice makes
perfect.
Perfect means perfect, right?
Yeah.
That means Tiger Woods should have been #1 in the world throughout his career because he had perfected the golf swing and was winning everything. He doesn't win anymore. But what practice does is that it makes permanent. So his swing is a complete replica of the last swing. Yeah, so it sticks into your mind. So you as salespeople, you've got to practice more and more. Employers, you've got to put you need to invest in your salespeople because that's where they can practice so that they can give you the perfect outcome, which is revenues. Yeah. For the salespeople, you also need to lift yourself up. Sometimes you say, oh, I don't have money to do this. But you need to also invest in yourself such that you're able, you have to wear the right clothes, you've got to wear the right dresses, the right shoes. I see salespeople walking around with, like I was an insurance person, so I can spot them a mile away. You know, a folder that's sort of bent, it has about 1,000 papers. If you open it, or if he gets hit by an undozy on the road, that thing will explode with papers. Yeah. Or, these guys, yeah, so he's there with his folder, then he's with his sort of, what do they call them, tube pants, those tight trousers that young guys like to wear. So you're wearing tight trousers and then Alibaba shoes. You know those shoes that are pointed toes. So you can see that's a salesman. He's going to come and, we need to sort of spruce ourselves up more than men. Yeah. So we need to invest in ourselves, not only in terms of reading and updating ourselves, but in our dress and grooming. Because you never get a second chance to make a first impression. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Katie. I'm still thinking about the Alibaba shoes. My parting shot, right? My parting shot is from a gentleman called Nicholas Johnson. Just food for thought as you enjoy the rest of your Sunday evening. It used to be that people needed products to survive. Now products need people to survive. I think that's something that I'll let just sink in. But that's it from me on Great Leadership Live. This has been episode 8. And if you couldn't tell, we've been talking to salespeople. And it's been a lovely, lovely conversation. Martin, I'll let you then close the show.
Well, thank you. Mine is to say thank you to all our guests today. It was a very interesting talk. Clearly, I think as anyone watching, I'm also equally convinced sales is not about just having the gift of the gab, but there's a whole science involved, which also, as Katie told us, involves image, involves attitude, and all those things that we've talked about. But truly grateful. Good to have you, Martha, Trufi, and Katie. I think I've learned a lot about sales. And I like the way Martha said, when you see a salesperson, don't be quick to shut them off. You don't know how much effort has gone behind. And let's be sensitive to their feelings as well. 5 minutes just listening to them and just giving them that space will not deny you or eat into any of your time and your day-to-day life. So I totally agree with you, Martha, there. That was a very good, strong point. Yeah. People will always remember how you made them feel at the end of the day, not what you bought from them. So, niko hayo machache, nasema asante sana. Thank you all. And I hope to have you back in some future shows. The shows will keep changing, topics keep changing. Somewhere we'll keep interweaving.
We need to close up men versus women.
Thank you for having us.
We can take this offline.
Let's go to our corner.
Yeah.
Someone will Katie, a sure point there on the way salespeople dress and present themselves. Yeah, Sammy saw that as well. You can tell us from a mile away. I truly hope that no one gets hit by a doobie. That's not a good sign. Right. Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Then thank you very much, guys.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Bye.
See you. Bye.
Yeah.